Our stories are not real and made for entertainment purpose only. Subscribe to my channel for more stories. Now let's begin this one. The sting of her hand on my cheek echoed louder than the gasps around the Thanksgiving table, but it was the call 7 years later that shattered my world in ways I never could have imagined. November 2018 was crisp and golden in our small Vermont town, the kind of autumn that painted the hills in fiery reds and oranges. Our colonial-style home, with its creaky wooden floors and wide bay windows, was the heart of our family's traditions. Every Thanksgiving, we hosted a sprawling gathering: my parents, my sister Jenna and her 2 kids, a gaggle of cousins from Boston, and a few neighbors who'd become like family. The air was thick with the scent of roasted turkey, my mother's pecan pie, and the sharp tang of cranberry sauce. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the space, a perfect snapshot of togetherness, or so I thought. I was Ethan Caldwell, 38, a high school history teacher with a knack for storytelling and a reputation for being the dependable one. My wife, Claire, was the spark of our marriage, vibrant, meticulous, the kind of woman who could orchestrate a flawless holiday while making it look effortless. Her chestnut hair caught the candlelight as she moved through the room, refilling wine glasses and adjusting place settings. We'd been married 10 years, and though we'd had our share of arguments mostly about my long hours grading papers or her late nights managing her graphic design business, I thought we were solid. Our daughter, Lily, 8 years old and all giggles, was the glue that held us together. That night, as we gathered around the oak dining table, I felt a flicker of unease. Claire had been distant all week, her smiles tight, her eyes avoiding mine. I chalked it up to the stress of hosting. She'd always been a perfectionist, fretting over every detail. As dessert was served, she stood, wineglass in hand, and I leaned back, expecting one of her heartfelt toasts. The room quieted, all eyes on her. "To Ethan," she said, her voice slow and sharp, like a blade sliding from its sheath. "Who thinks he's fooling everyone." The words hit like a punch. Before I could respond, her hand flew across the table, striking my cheek with a crack that silenced the room. My face burned, not just from the slap, but from the weight of every stare: my mother's wide eyes, my nephew's dropped fork, my cousin's awkward cough. Lily froze, her pie untouched, her small face crumpling. "What the hell, Claire?" I managed, my voice shaking. She didn't answer. Her glass clinked as she set it down, hard. She grabbed her coat from the hall, her heels clicking on the hardwood, and stormed out into the snowy night. The silence that followed was suffocating. My sister Jenna tried to lighten the mood, muttering, "Guess the wine was stronger than we thought," but no one laughed. My father cleared his throat, asking quietly, "Ethan, what was that about?" I didn't know. I hadn't cheated, hadn't lied, hadn't done anything to deserve that public humiliation. The whispers started, cousins exchanging glances, my mother's hand on my arm, Lily's soft, "Daddy, why's mommy mad?" I had no answers. I excused myself to check on Claire, but her car was gone. My phone buzzed later that night. "I need space, staying at Rachel's. Don't call." Claire's sister, Rachel, lived an hour away in Burlington. I tried texting, calling, but Claire stonewalled me. The next day, I found divorce papers on the kitchen counter, citing irreconcilable differences. My world unraveled. I begged her to talk, to explain, but she refused. Lily, caught in the middle, became quiet, her usual chatter replaced by wary glances. The divorce was finalized by spring 2019, and Claire moved to Seattle, taking Lily for half the year. She'd drop cryptic comments to Lily about Daddy's secrets, planting seeds of doubt that broke my heart. The town gossiped, was Ethan hiding something, an affair? Worse, and though my family stood by me, the pity in their eyes stung almost as much as Claire's slap. The years that followed were a slow climb out of a dark hole. Teaching kept me grounded. My students' enthusiasm for history, dates and battles and revolutions gave me purpose. I bought a modest fixer-upper on the edge of town, a 2-bedroom with peeling paint and a backyard where Lily could play during her summer visits. I threw myself into being a dad, taking her hiking in the Green Mountains, teaching her to bake badly, and answering her endless questions about the world. But Claire's influence lingered. Lily would repeat things like, "Mom says you weren't honest," and I'd spend hours reassuring her I'd never lied, though I couldn't explain what I didn't understand. I avoided dating for years, to raw from the divorce. My sister Jenna, ever the optimist, tried setting me up, but I wasn't ready. The Thanksgiving incident became a scar I carried quietly, a wound I didn't talk about. My colleagues at school were kind but curious, and I overheard whispers in the faculty lounge. Poor Ethan, blindsided like that. I focused on routine grading papers, coaching the debate team, mowing my lawn. By 2022, I'd found a fragile piece. Lily, now 12, was growing into a whip-smart kid who loved graphic novels and science fairs. Her visits were the highlight of my year, though Claire's shadow loomed, her bitterness seeping into our co-parenting. In 2023, I met Sarah, a librarian at the town library. She was quiet, with a dry wit and a love for obscure history books that matched my own. Our first date was a disaster. I spilled coffee on her scarf, but she laughed it off, and soon we were spending weekends hiking or reading by my fireplace. Sarah didn't pry about Claire, but I told her the story one night, the words spilling out over whiskey. She listened, her hand on mine, and said, "You didn't deserve that, Ethan." It was the first time I believed it. By 2025, life felt stable. Lily, now 15, was thriving, splitting her time between Vermont and Seattle. She'd text me memes or call to rant about algebra, and I cherished every moment. Sarah and I were talking about moving in together, maybe blending our book collections. The pain of that Thanksgiving had dulled, though the mystery of Claire's outburst never faded. I'd stopped asking why. Some wounds, I thought, just don't heal with answers. On November 22, 2025, 7 years to the day since that Thanksgiving, my phone rang at 9:17 p.m. I was grading essays on the couch, Sarah curled up with a novel. The number had a Seattle area code, unfamiliar. "Hello," I said, expecting a telemarketer. "Mr. Caldwell, this is Dr. Patel from Seattle General Hospital." His voice was calm but urgent. "I'm calling about Claire Monroe, your ex-wife. She's in the ICU with advanced pancreatic cancer. She's named you as her emergency contact." The room tilted. "Claire, in the ICU?" We hadn't spoken directly in years, communicating only through curt emails about Lily's schedule. "Is she okay?" I asked, knowing the answer. "She's stable but critical," Dr. Patel said. "She's asking for you and your daughter, Lily. It's urgent. Can you come?" Sarah looked up, her eyes wide as I explained. Lily was in Seattle, staying with Claire for the holiday. I called her, my hands shaking. "Dad, what's going on?" she said, her voice small. I told her about the hospital, keeping my tone steady for her sake. She agreed to meet me there. I booked flights for the next morning, Sarah insisting on coming for support. As we packed, I couldn't shake the question. Why me? After everything, why is she asking for me? We landed in Seattle by noon, the city gray and drizzling. At the hospital, Lily was waiting in the lobby, her eyes red from crying. She hugged me tightly, and I felt her trembling. "Mom looks so sick," she whispered. Sarah squeezed my shoulder, staying back to give us space. We followed a nurse to Claire's room, and the sight of her stopped me cold. The woman who'd once lit up our home was unrecognizable, gaunt, her skin sallow, tubes snaking from her arms. Her eyes, though, were still hers, sharp and searching. "Ethan," she rasped, gesturing me closer. Lily sat beside her, holding her hand. "I need to tell you about that night. I owe you that." Claire's voice was weak, punctuated by coughs, but she spoke with a clarity I hadn't heard from her in years. 7 years ago, she said, she'd received a letter in the mail, no return address. It was from a man claiming to be my half-brother, Daniel Caldwell, someone I'd never mentioned. The letter was detailed dates, childhood anecdotes, even a photo of a boy who looked eerily like me at 10. Daniel claimed I'd been supporting a secret family in Maine, a woman named Laura and a son, Caleb. He included bank statements showing transfers I'd supposedly made, and a DNA test confirming he was my sibling. "He said you'd lied to me for years," Claire said, tears pooling. He had proof, Ethan. I believed him. I felt like I'd been slapped again. "Claire, I don't have a brother. I never sent money to anyone. Why didn't you ask me?" She looked away, ashamed. I was so angry. "I'd been feeling you pull away, working late, distracted. I thought it was true. That Thanksgiving, she'd planned to confront me privately, but the wine, the pressure, the sight of our perfect family, it broke her. The slap was impulsive, a release of rage she couldn't contain. She fled to Rachel's, too humiliated to face me, and filed for divorce to escape the pain. I couldn't look at you without seeing his lies, she said. Lily's eyes darted between us, her face a mix of confusion and anger. Mom, you never told me any of this, she said. Claire squeezed her hand, whispering, I didn't want you to hate me, Claire continued. In 2024, after years of silence, she'd started doubting Daniel's story. Her diagnosis stage for pancreatic cancer 6 months ago forced her to act. She hired a private investigator who uncovered the truth. Daniel wasn't my brother. He was a con artist, a drifter named Paul Grayson with a history of targeting families. He'd found my name in an old obituary for my grandfather, pieced together details from public records, and forged documents to scam Claire. The bank statements were fake, the DNA test a fabrication. He'd preyed on her insecurities, and she'd fallen for it. I destroyed our family for nothing, Claire said, sobbing. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I should have trusted you. Lily was crying now, her shoulders shaking. I felt a storm inside, anger at Claire for believing the lies, at this stranger for ruining us, at myself for not fighting harder to keep her. But looking at Claire, so fragile, I couldn't hold on to the rage. Why now? I asked. Why tell me now? Because I'm dying, she said simply. And Lily needs you. I want her to know the truth, to know you're a good man. I'm asking you to take full custody when I'm gone. Claire's words hung heavy. Lily and I stayed in Seattle for 3 weeks, navigating hospital visits and hard conversations. Claire shared memories with Lily, stories of her childhood, regrets about the distance she'd created. I struggled with my own feelings, torn between resentment and pity. Sarah was my anchor, listening late at night as I poured out the pain of those 7 years. Claire passed on December 10, 2025, with Lily and me at her side. Her funeral was small, just family and a few friends. Lily spoke, her voice steady as she shared a memory of Claire teaching her to draw. I didn't speak, I couldn't find the words. Back in Vermont, I found a box of Claire's things, sent by Rachel. Inside were the letters from Daniel, pages of lies so convincing they'd torn us apart. I tracked down Paul Grayson through the investigator's report. He was in a Washington state prison, serving time for fraud. I wrote him a letter, not expecting a reply, just needing to say, you took 7 years from me. He never responded. Lily moved in with me full-time, and we leaned on each other. She struggled with grief and anger, but therapy helped, and Sarah became a quiet, steady presence in her life. We started new traditions: Sunday pancake breakfasts, movie nights with Sarah's terrible rom-coms. The scar of that Thanksgiving lingered, but it was fading. On Thanksgiving 2026, we sat around a small table, me, Lily, Sarah, and my parents. I raised a glass, my voice steady. To truth, I said, and to family. Lily smiled, her eyes bright. The devastating call had broken us open, but it also gave us a chance to rebuild, stronger than before.